It's not meant to be a test, nor is it challenging you in any way. It's a question I'm grappling with. And the
Hmm.
question is, what am I, or what are you actually certain about? Meaning, like for me, all I can really say is experience is. That's the
Hmm.
only thing I feel certain about. And I'm wondering what you feel certain about. It's just an unshakable fact.
Hmm. Hmm.
And again, like I say, it's just for the discussion's sake, not any way of a challenge or a test or anything. It's something I'm grappling with.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting. When it comes to, I guess there's different ways of looking at the question. And of course, anyone, I'm open to, I'm always open to being challenged. Um, hmm. It it begs the question of, who or what is it that's being certain, right?
Of course.
So, so there's that. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, that pulls the rug out from everything kind of there.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Let me turn this. Yeah. Yeah. Who or what is it that's being certain?
Me, me,
Um,
me.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Even the phrase experience is, we can unpack that. What do we mean by experience and what do we mean by is? I think with experience, we're referring to, whatever is here, whatever is present. There's an immediacy that can't be denied, a presence, right? We call it isness or being or existence, and it doesn't seem to have an opposite. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd say I'm certain about it. It seems to be the case, um, that there's no opposite to immediacy or no opposite to existence. But I don't seem to have the thought anymore um, that this is. Yeah, I mean, there's the immediacy of things, but it doesn't seem that my mind uh, needs to be certain about it. So yeah, it seems that certainty is a position, just like uncertainty is a position. I know, and then I don't know. So there's knowing and not knowing, and um, both knowledge and its absence arise in the same place. So it is the difference between suffering and not suffering, though, or the difference between um, freedom and bondage. So it does have a place. Yeah. I think the word illumination or gnosis means, to know or knowledge. I think maybe the general view of non-duality is that it's not really possible to know anything. I don't I don't I don't know if that's true. It seems that there's some stages of awakening or configurations of this in which um, reality appears as knowledge or things appear as revelation. So I'd say that when it comes to yeah, when it comes to certain things, they're certain knowledges per se, they become evident to you through a repeated experience. Yeah, but if you were to ask me, do I absolutely know uh, for sure? It's difficult to say because I don't even know. I wouldn't even know if this moment is real. I could be dreaming right now. It kind of seems insane to say that, but I wouldn't know if I was dreaming until I woke up from it. So it's hard to say, but there's things that happen, uh, shifts that occur, understandings that dawn, where it seems like to deny it is just would just be absurd. Some level of absurdity there, or yeah, like with what you said, that there's just the knowing that that this is the immediacy is present, and to deny that seems insane. It's present, uh, but we don't know what it is. I don't actually know what the nature of this table is. There's just the experience in the visual field of its presence, and then my perceptions that jumble that come together to indicate to me that it's a table, but I have no idea what it is besides from what I perceive. So I think uh, fundamentally that's the case. Like what this analogy that I just made with this table is the same thing with life and death and any experience. Um, whatever is being pointed to is just what's appearing, but the nature of what's appearing is a mystery. Yeah, I mean there are states of knowledge, but what's interesting about them is that uh, there doesn't seem to be some endpoint, and often what appears as a state of knowledge, there's some other state behind it, or what appears as gnosis, there's a gnosis behind that, and then a gnosis behind that, and then a gnosis behind that, and where does it ever actually end? Yeah, but it's interesting because there's a I've heard many times, you get this unshakable certainty that like this is it. With like there's just this. Like I don't know. I don't even know what this is.
I hear you.
So how can I say it's it? So yeah, it's strange because I see certainty and its absence as mental processes. Yeah, it comes back to the question of, what or who is certain. And at the same time, the paradox is that with certain realizations, it just seems um, absurd to question them with the conceptual mind. You know, There- there's something when some of those shifts or openings happen, it seems like to deny them is an ego thing. You know, to either embrace or deny. But when reality emerges as revelation, and then after the fact, there's this separate ego or sense of self or perception that kicks in and tries to deny it. Yeah, it seems just as ridiculous as attempting to accept it. I think it goes back to what you were saying, that uh, it just is. What it is exactly, I don't know, but the fact that it is present, or at least it appears to be present, I think that's the limitation of knowledge. Yeah, because even that it is, I don't even, I don't even know what that means. There's no opposite to isness from my understanding. So it seems like a redundant statement. Yeah, it's like saying, reality has an opposite. I mean, you could call it the cessation of experience or the absence of consciousness. Maybe you could call that an opposite, but I don't know why you'd call that an opposite. It's not anything. So yeah, and there's often this phrase like doubt, doubtless realization. And I think that refers to hmm, the doubtlessness of something that's evident, in that, in retrospect, there's something very clear that has shifted or changed, and there's a doubtlessness pertaining to that. You know, like if I've emerged from a dream, mm, it's it's pretty clear that I've emerged from a dream. If I consciously enter a dream, it's pretty clear that I consciously had entered a dream. If your perception of separateness falls away, it's pretty clear that your perception of separateness falls away. So things are evident in their presentation, especially if it's persistent over time. So that's the doubtlessness. The doubtlessness could be it's more like an observation from from my experience with it than like a statement of like, yeah, uh, I have awakened or whatever, you know. It's more of a, it's impossible for my mind to do what it used to do or to want what it used to want or to be what it used to think it was. So there's doubtlessness from that. Yeah, did that answer your question?
It's as good as an answer as I could expect, and it's so thank you. It's easy to get still have, mental perspectives dominate to some degree rather than felt sense of things too.
Right.
And so much easier to get lost in mentation.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think the so when awakening is discussed, I've noticed that a lot of mm, side effects, I would say, are prescribed. You know, you'll often hear people talking about the the vanishing of the perception of distance or vanishing of what was previously some kind of like solid or central part of their field of experience. But primarily, it's I would say the reality to which thought has been undermined. Yeah, it's not so much about um, what flashy stuff or perceptual changes have occurred. You know, the the point is, how evident or real has the truth become that your thoughts could never be accurate representations of anything, or that your feelings could never be accurate representations of anything. The reality to which, or the degree to which thought and feeling has been emptied doesn't mean that thought and feeling ceases to arise. In some cases, it can, but it's just to the degree which they're um, they're taken to be real. There's no. I wouldn't say there's really a point in measuring. How could you measure immediacy? How could you measure something like grace? How could you measure isness, right? When it comes to this absolute view, this idea of measuring and qualifications and classifications is ridiculous. But in terms of the relative um, experience and taste of this, you do see that over time, um, the domains of experience, thought, feeling, perception, even memory, um, become hollowed, like they become empty. And I think it's possible that at least in certain forms or levels of awakening that could be very, very let's say uh, it's possible for that familiarity of our perceptions to vanish. Like if the unreality of thought and feeling is on the spectrum, you only need it to be about like on a spectrum of 0 to 100. You only need it to be about like 25% for basically all most of your suffering to be gone. Most of your suffering and reactivity disappears just at the 25% mark on that spectrum. But you know, at the 50% mark or the 75% mark or the 100% mark, that's very very deep unreality, and would be noticeably different from the 25% or the 15% or the 5%. Just when it comes to your thinking, your own thoughts and feelings being taken seriously. But most people take their thoughts and feelings and beliefs and biases and experiences as 100% accurate representations of things. So if that gets inversed and it goes to 100% unreal, most people couldn't even live with that. Yeah, I mean, what if it was at a level where you you look at a picture of you as a kid and you don't actually know if that was you. See, there's the it can get weird. Let's put it that way. You know, it's like, yeah, you know that that's you, but how do you know that it's you? You know that it's you because your memories tell you that it is. But your memories are just these little wisps that appear in this field. Even considering the thought that that picture may not be me, or this me looking in the mirror might not be me. That sounds like a like insanity, like madness. But there can be levels of the suspension of one's sense of reality or what is true, where even an experience like that or even a state like that would not be a cause for fear because there's been a total or a much greater movement to orientation to the field in its entirety, not to the particulars. Like the thought that's coming up that is telling me that's a picture of me as a kid as a particular. It's an actual process or function that's arising in this. And same thing when I look in a mirror. When I look at a mirror, how do I know that I'm looking at myself? Because my perceptions tell me that that's what's happening. I see that face, and then I recognize that face as being attached to this succession of moments in time and events that were experienced, none of which I'm able to find actually. Yeah, so it is possible that you look at the night sky and it doesn't feel like it's nighttime, or you look at the day and the sun and it doesn't feel like it's daytime. You look at yourself in a mirror and you don't see anyone there. And your thoughts and memories, which were so familiar, they seem like the thoughts and memories of another person. You know, like somehow everything's one, but at the same time, it's all really alien. There's a good quote in the Samyutta Nikaya, which is the connected discourses from the Buddha. Uh, Sometimes when you read these old discourses, you'll find a story or an analogy, and it just does something to the system. It's like the dawn of wisdom or something. Anyways, so this particular analogy was saying like, um, if we were all to work together to fetch firewood, we put all the firewood together, put it in a pile, and then we burn the firewood. None of us would have the sense that we are burning when burning the pile of firewood. No one would be under duress that we're burning. Likewise, in the same way, the uh, the sutta says, likewise, in the same way, a monk would regard his body, his perceptions, his feelings, his volitional formations, and his fields of consciousness as like those twigs and those logs being burned. If true disidentification has become the taste of your yoga, yeah, then you wouldn't tremble in fear at death. It just depends to what that uh, shift or dive into, to what degree that shift or dive into gnosis has occurred. There's a range. There's a range, like in the analogy I just used with the reality of the identification of the body and the field of experience. There's identification means it's me, right? I'm it. I'm this body. I'm my feelings. I'm my thoughts, whatever, my perceptions. There's like, that's true 100%. That's true 75%. That's true 50%. That's true 25%. Or it's not true at all. Like there's zero truth to that statement. So we could say that it's not true, but then if yeah, your level of reactivity and fear is an assessment of how true it actually is. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's the present moment that deepens. You know, how can isness or immediacy deepen? It's actually never deepened. You know, it's never been more or less than what it is. Isness has never been more isness. Isness has never been less isness. It's never been more or less existence. At least not that we can point to. But what does deepen is our taste of it, and the taste is happening within it. But it's very clear that at a certain, for most of our lives, we were unaware of this truth. And then we became aware of it. And our unawareness of this both our unawareness of it and our recognition of it happened in the same isness, in the same field. So in a way, I mean, it would be apt and fitting to say that uh, immediacy is beyond knowing and unknowing. That isness or existence or reality, yeah, is beyond knowledge and its absence. Since knowledge is something that occurs, and the absence is something that occurs as well. These two are dependent on each other. You could say they're both children of this. This was it, or this was here before we knew what it was, before a teacher came along and pointed it out to us. That's because that's ultimately what has happened if we go backwards in time. Someone somewhere somehow got this pointed out to them, and it has existed as a knowledge ever since. But the knowledge, its absence, the pointing, the friend, the path, uh, the succession of this transmission through time have all happened in the same place. Here, this, now, it. Whatever we want to call it. There's another question. Anyone's welcome to ask.
Oh, I have a question about Reiki, but I'm not sure you know about Reiki or not. So
Uh,
could I?
yeah, I'm familiar with what it is, like energy healing.
Yes, thank you for telling me that. So I went to Reiki workshop last week and I got an attunement, but I'm not sure it is recommended to do that because I saw some YouTube that some people doesn't recommend the Reiki because it is kind of like meddling other people's energy without knowing the whole life of them. And I feel like it is true that if I am sick, like I heard I have a pain in my jaw, and if I receive Reiki, it suddenly heals. But it actually
Mm,
it doesn't. It make me do less meditation because I have to hear what my jaw pain is teaching me, and I have to heal my own trauma. I want to heal my own pain. But if Reiki heals everything, I kind of less doing meditation. So I'm not sure the Reiki healing is good for my spiritual journey or not. But anyway, it sounds also very beautiful to just receive universal life energy.
So your question is whether it's good for you or not. Is that the question? I think you froze, or maybe I froze.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're back.
Uh,
Yeah, so your question is
so I'm
whether
not clear that it is. Yes, yes,
you're not clear if it's what?
yes. Whether yeah, I'm not clear of it is. Is it frozen?
Yeah, you're blipping out, but you're back now. Yeah, you can say something now. It should work. Yeah, you've returned.
Yeah, I'm sorry about it. I don't know.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, so you're just saying you don't know if it's what?
I don't know whether it is good for me to do Reiki or not.
Well, what's good for you? Let's unpack what we mean by good for you. So what does it mean that something's good for you? Like I'm on a ketogenic diet. Is it good for me? Yeah, I mean I lose weight, but is it like good for me? I don't know. What does it really mean that something's good for you? It's almost like
Is it healthy thing to do? Because if we do Zen meditation, we
yeah,
usually
sure.
it is healthy thing to do. And if we drink alcohol, I usually clear that it is not healthy thing to do, but I can choose it. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Reiki, whether it is healthy or not.
I mean, just test it. I would continue to explore it and see whether um whether it produces some beneficial effect or not, you know. Just because it initially seems like okay, I've been doing Reiki, and since I've been doing Reiki, I've been meditating less. Doesn't necessarily mean that Reiki is making you meditate less. To be clear, the thing that makes you meditate less is the decision to meditate for whatever reason has escaped you, but it may not be related to the Reiki. Or I mean, if you feel like the reason that you meditate more when things are bad, or like when things aren't going as well, you find that you meditate more, you practice more seriously. I mean, then that's the reason. Like that's the real reason. So when conditions are more, when conditions are better, you practice less. When conditions are worse, you practice more. That's the habit pattern. It's like, yeah, that's really the thing. That's really the program right there. That when I'm feeling better, I have less of a reason to meditate. So what's the solution? Is to get beyond needing a reason to meditate. is to get beyond needing a reason to be aware. In the relative sense, it's okay to have a reason. But in the absolute sense, you see that your reasons, whatever they are they're just thoughts. They're just thoughts. If I think that I'm doing better, I'll meditate less. If I think that I'm not doing as good as I should be, I'll meditate more. I had this with this, there's a couple of students in here that had this experience where they're like, they were suffering a lot leading up to this shift into awakening or into non-duality. Like really, really, they were suffering. They kind of had this like dark night of the soul, and the pressure cooker of those conditions, got them to the point where they really just like surrendered and gave up. And so the first question this person asked me was, hey, so like if my situation gets resolved and I stop suffering so much, will I lose the awakening? What is it that's asking that question? Who or what is it that wants to uh, keep the shift or deepen their awakening? Who or what is it that wants to be free?
Yeah, I don't want to let go of my suffering.
Yeah, but the question is what is it that doesn't want to let go? When you investigate and you look inside, what's there that is holding on? It's an investigation. It's not necessarily something that we would have an answer, you'd have an answer for right away. But when you look to see, what is it that wants this or wants that or doesn't want to let go or needs more or needs less or just needs itself, just it just needs. Or what is it that needs? It's the same question as what is it that suffers?
Oh, it's me. It's me who suffers.
And what's that? What is me?
Someone who is very pathetic.
No. I mean, just look at what is me right now. I mean, look at it. What's there?
Someone who senses my body sensations and feelings. Someone who believes something is happening in this world.
So when you look at that, you know, just dive into your consciousness here for a moment. What is that someone that believes or that something that is aware? When you look at it, what do you perceive immediately? Is it feeling? Is it thought? Is it What is it? Is it the reaching itself, you know? Is it a tendency?
It feels like time is passing. I am sensing that the time is passing.
And what's that thing that is sensing? Sensing anything. Like you're saying it's sensing that time is passing. What's the thing that's sensing?
It feels like nothing.
Right.
What senses time travel is nothing.
Let's look at that nothing.
I feel great fear about admitting that I'm nothing. What if I
And
lose myself?
yeah, it's a legitimate fear. It's understandable. But let's continue. Let's look at this, you know, what is it that's afraid when you look? If it's this me that's afraid, what is that me? Is it a feeling? Is it nothing with a feeling? Is it a nothing that knows a feeling? What is it that is afraid?
The fear, a great fear. There's a so great fear resisting to get approached to the nothingness.
Hmm.
It almost feels like a big sorrow.
So look again, or feel again. Um, what is it that is knowing sorrow? What is it that is knowing fear?
And the sorrow says, what if I'm not important like that? And let me focus on what is sensing sorrow.
Good, good. So it's like the notice how like the sorrow and the fear, it's like they have their own agenda.
It is some kind of stillness witnessing the sorrow.
That's right. So then keep noticing this stillness. What is it that is witnessing? Or is there just witnessing?
And then a great amount of anger suddenly came up. So it is really hard for me to focus on the stillness.
Yeah, you don't need to focus on the stillness, but just do it again right now. What 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 is it that knows anger?
So great amount of negativity comes out that it dominates me.
What's me that gets dominated?
It can be a very tiny something.
What's that something?
Something full of love and wholeness.
Mm. So stay with that for a moment.
It feels like I'm connected to heaven.
And the love or the wholeness, the heaven, it's being known by what?
Being known by nothingness.
That's correct. Exactly.
So the nothingness is like a plate,
Uh-huh.
and there's a love on the plate. It
Yes.
feels like, but I cannot trust my answer because I'm not awakened.
Well, uh, trust is something that's happening in thought, so you don't need to trust it. What is it that needs to trust? It's the same thing that knows anger or knows heaven or knows this or knows that.
I'm not spiritually awakened though, so I must not know the truth about something nothingness or love. I'm not awakened. Like, I can, I can answer it, but I'm not sure I approach to the truth.
Well, it's not the answer that's important. What I'm saying is seeing uh, what it is that those answers are arising within. Like I'm not spiritually awakened. That's a thought. I am spiritually awakened. That's a thought. What is it that knows both of those thoughts? You call it nothingness or awareness. It's the same thing.
actually it comes from knowingness.
Yeah, a knowing that's present, right?
So who is me?
Who is me is a question or a thought appearing in knowingness. It's an irrelevant question. It's like, what is this table? It's just words. So the assembly of words into meaning is happening in this knowingness.
Yes. Then who is not me? Like, it's also a question, but yes, I think it comes from the fear, like questioning who is me.
Hmm. You go back and look. So what is it that's afraid? And this continues to unwind, but you can look at it again. What is it? What is it that's afraid? There's just the feeling of fear, the knowing of that feeling. That fear is present one moment, or is present for a few moments, is gone the next. Something
Yes,
comes
but
in its place. Anger,
if I,
sadness.
if I question who is sensing this fear, then I suddenly lead to a very tremendous amount of love.
Yep. Which appears to the knowingness.
Yes, and who is sensing this tremendous amount of love? It is nothingness. Yes, it's the same. Yeah.
And so the tremendous love is perceived in one moment, it's not perceived in the next. The tremendous fear is perceived in one moment, it's not perceived in the next. The tremendous sorrow is perceived in one moment, it's not perceived in the next.
So it feels like I don't have to catch that tremendous fear.
What is the fear? Look at the fear. What is the fear? Or feel it. What is it?
I'm not sensing great amount of fear right now after this meditation. And
Fear is a feeling. Sorrow is a feeling. Bliss is a feeling. Yeah, so the
Fear is something like there's something happening which that should not happen.
says what?
It feels like fear is there is something happening which should not happen. It feels like that.
So let's look at the should not happen. What is the should not happen? What is that? It's a belief, right?
Yes.
Yeah, do you know with absolute certainty whether anything should be or should not be happening?
Yes. Yes. I should be alive.
I should be alive as a thought. So the knowingness that perceives this, it is fooled by thoughts and feelings. It's called in Thai. It's called Buru, which means the one who knows. In Peter Brown's work, they call it the intelligence what interprets which seems to appear. So intelligence, this knowing, it is misled by belief and by thought. So initially, the knowing seems like a thing, seems like a core. With more investigation, you uh, you discover that it itself is a process. Yeah, there seems to be uh, this core of knowing, but even this knowing isn't constant. You know, the knowing is there for a few moments, and then it forgets itself into some delusion or whatever. In one moment, the nothingness, the knowingness is very clear. It feels separate. It feels apart from anger. And then in the next moment, it's totally conjoined with anger. But the
Yes, I
idea,
understand. Yeah.
you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. But the idea is to see that actually the idea is to just to see that this is what's happening. Yeah, to see the truth of the present. Knowingness is appearing in this, and then knowingness forgetting itself is appearing in this.
Yes, like it feels like I fear to approach to knowingness, and I'm also a about not knowing. So I fear about knowing, and I fear about not knowing.
So what you train yourself to do through noticing is it's like there's two layers. So the layer is the fear. I'm afraid. I'm approaching. And then the background is the knowing of that. So the practice that will set you free is to continue to notice the knowing. The more that you notice the knowing, the more that the knowing becomes purified or unshackled from I'm afraid, I need to approach, I need this, I need that. The I need is appearing to something. So by noticing this something, you become free from I need, or I'm not, or I'm this. I am this is a thought. I am not this is a thought. I need this is a thought. I don't need this is a thought. What is the principle that experiences all of them? It's this knowingness. The knowingness has a reflexive intelligence. There's the capacity for the mind, which is ultimately what we're talking about, to believe that it's this or believe that it's that. Believe that it's not this, believe that it's not that. When belief is just another process, it's just another thing in the knowingness. The opposite of I am is I am not. I am and I am not are appearing to what? The knowingness. Does the knowingness even make any declarations? No. Thought is what makes declarations. Habit is what makes declarations. I am this and I am not this is the core of suffering. So you look at the experiencing principle again and again and again. This is inquiry. You start to see that I'm not a spiritually awakened person. How many words is that? I am not a spiritually awakened person. Those are 7 words appearing to what? And the meaning that ties in these 7 words is appearing to what? How do you even know what those words mean? Because there's a part of your mind that interprets what appears. It is able to construct meaning out of language. What is it that that construction appears to? It appears to the knowingness. So the more that the knowingness is oriented towards, the less that which is known is able to enslave you. Thought is known, feeling is known. I'm sad, that's a known. What is it that's being known? Sadness as an object. I'm afraid. What is it that's being known in the statement, I'm afraid? Fear as an object. So the knowing in one moment, fear. The knowing in the next moment, anger. The knowing in the next moment, sorrow. If we look at everything in like as if it was frame by frame, it's like knowingness arises with with this object. this object, this object, this object, the next object, the next object, the next object, the next object, in an unbroken succession creates the continuity, creates the illusion, creates the sense of me. If you didn't have a knowing of what is appearing, like anger or sorrow or love or fear or this or that, if there was no capacity to recognize what is present, you would not be able to suffer. How could you suffer if you don't know the suffering? So it's because there's this is what Buddhism calls perception. It's the aspect of mind that remembers what is appearing. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah,
yeah, continue.
yeah, like feeling the nothingness feels like my soul is out of my body and like it's like spreading to the whole world. It's
Hmm.
just a stated energy. Then I feel like, does it mean that I'm not important? Like, uh, yes.
So this is where the importance of training comes in. So notice that you'll notice the knowing, or there'll be establishment in the knowing, or in awareness. This is a common word for this, awareness. And then something will happen like what you're just describing, like you'll start to expand and you'll start to be dissolving into nothingness, which by your own standards is exactly the awakening that you think you don't have or are not going through. And it's like happening in real time. But that you can put that aside. Um, but notice how the the mind will react. Like there's expansion, and expansion is just expansion. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just there's just expansion, and then suddenly there's a story that comes up about how, okay, if I keep expanding, then what's going to happen to me? Am I not going to be important? Like being important. What is being important? What does that mean? And what is being important arising to?
Being important means I'm sensing only me. I'm sensing only myself,
Which is what?
which is nothing.
Does nothing need to be important?
Yeah, move so fast.
Whoops. Yeah. Does the nothing uh, need to be important? What is the need to be important? Where is it?
I'm not sure about it.
What's not sure?
I'm not sure how to deal with the nothing.
You're not sure how to deal with what?
I'm not sure if the nothing should be important or not.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So look back again. What is it that isn't sure?
I sense nothing, and yes, I sense nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing comes next.
Good. So it's the nothing, it's the knowing that will gradually lead to the thoughts which it is experiencing or interpreting. It'll it gradually takes those less seriously. Initially, or right now, you still have, you're noticing you're establishing being or knowing, and then some thought comes up and you have some reaction. So that's normal. But the more time that is spent in the knowing, the more unreal the thought and feeling becomes. You can see the knowingness is like this core, but the core needs to be purified, and then at some point you realize the core is empty, and that's awakening.
It sounds so beautiful.
The core is already empty. It just seems like it isn't. There's a thought that says that it isn't. Yeah. The me itself is a thought. It's the I thought. I, but me. It's there one moment, it's not there the next, just like anything else. All
Yes,
right.
I'm really glad to meet the nothingness. Thank you. I really enjoy to feel this. Oh yeah, yes.
You're welcome. I'm reading the questions. In the Kensho I had, there appeared to be no experience, no this, no isness. It was extremely convincing, seemingly unable to be doubted, but it's possible that was relative to what the body / mind is used to as experience / this / isness. Yeah, I think that answers you answered your own statement there. Yeah, it's the suspension of the sense of experience. It doesn't mean that there isn't form or consciousness or whatever is present in that state, but that it's not. If ordinary consciousness has the quality of being within experience, then, or being a experience, then this particular thing you're describing is the opposite. So that's all that it is being stated. I've been questioning lately what lies beyond truth. I think if something appears, it's not truth. Well, there's only what appears. So, or there's only what is. I mean, in this particular moment, there's what appears to be my hands on the table, and what appears to be me speaking into a phone. But it's not like isness or reality somehow increases when I'm looking at, or when I'm in, if there was to be an experience of the state that you're describing. Let's say like I flip a switch now. Now I'm aware and in knowledge, and the sense that I'm experiencing anything is gone. There's no table. There's no hands. This conversation isn't happening. There's no mind to be freed. So inevitably everything is freedom. This is not any more isness than the state prior to snapping my fingers. It just appears that way in relation to the state that was the case prior to snapping my fingers. Everything is in relation to something else. All relations are appearing in the same field. Yeah, whatever it is, it's immediate. In some classifications of what is, there's suffering and identification and the sense that experience is occurring. And then in others, there's no identification, no sense that experience is occurring. What is it that accounts for the change? We have these internal receptors. Like for me, I'm a pro at this. So I could snap my fingers and then the perception that this table is real comes back. And then I can do it again, and the perception that the table is real disappears. So what we consider to be awakening is just a matter of it's just a matter of what is being sensed. So if my internal perception for time is suspended, I suddenly have the sense that there's no time. Or that I'm outside time. Bang, we're outside time. What you're calling spiritual awakening is a matter of perception. Perception of suffering, perception of identification, unawakened condition. Quote, perception of the absence of suffering, perception of non-identification. Quote, awakening. Just words. Don't mean anything. So the point of awakening is that in one mode there's bondage, in the other mode there's freedom. Because awakening is a process. It has the agenda of getting free, of emerging from sleep. But it doesn't seem that reality itself has an agenda. You know, does immediacy have an agenda? Does isness have an agenda? That's not even a sensible question. So the absence of the sense of experience is just akin, it's related to the consciousness which is present. So there are levels of your consciousness that do not register experience the same way that you register experience here in physical space-time consensus reality. Here the condition is like, this is the shadow of this is being in the shadow of the valley of death. Don't know anything. Can't. But in what we classify as samadhi, of which there are many levels, reality appears as revelation, appears as illumination. Just like in the moment of awakening from the dream of being a person, or awakening from the perception of duality. It's doubtless in at least into its relationship with what fell away. You know, we have to take it to a pretty unnecessary levels of strangeness, you know? Like if my hand was cut off and you ask me how do you know your hand's cut off? Well, it's not there, you know. I don't know what to tell you. Are you 100% sure that your hand's not there? I could be dreaming right now. I mean, I don't know for sure of that, but without, you know, being ridiculous, yeah, seems like my hand's gone. That's we'll say that it's pretty much how it is, you know, with this. still, nonetheless, back to the question from the beginning, what is it that needs to be certain? Is it possible there are levels in which, is it possible there are configurations of experience in which knowing or knowledge is intrinsic to that experience? That knowledge arises as a quality within the field of experience in the same way that the absence of knowledge, the unknowing, not knowing, arises as a quality in ours? Is it possible that in certain configurations it's the exact opposite? Is it possible that in this we don't know anything, but in the Father we know everything? I'd say yes. It is possible. And I guess by know everything, I don't mean that you have all the equations of quantum physics figured out. But just that it's the opposite of not knowing anything. Not knowing being a condition, reversing to knowing as a condition. Is that possible? If not knowing is the rule and the law here, was there a time where we knew what we were? And that's what I mean by everything. The consummation of remembering. With the suspension of time, all of these suspensions are ranges. So suspension of time, suspension of identity or self, suspension of thought, suspension of the perception of objects, suspension of the perception of distance, suspension of the I said time, but we can use another one. Perception or suspension of the perception of um, happening. That like this is happening. I take any one of those away, and yeah, you'd be on one. Any one of those, even if any one of those even takes a 25% hit, you're like, what is happening? What the hell is going on? So don't be fooled. It's not important. Those things are ranges. The ranges are appearing to what? They're appearing in what? They are what? This. The ranges come and go. They increase and decrease. But reality is never becoming more or less. You never get more seeing. You never get more hearing. Like the level of sound increases or decreases, but the faculty that that a domain is not something that goes up or down. Yeah, it's a paradox. You know, how is reality not increasing or decreasing when what we define as reality is just what appears, and what appears is changing. So how is it that there's continuous change, but no change at the same time? What is reality? What is here? There's seeing, feeling, touching, tasting, sensing, perceiving, thinking, everything that comprises your field of experience. We can't find any, you know, real boundaries between any of its compositions. But nonetheless, um, each aspect of the field is its aspect. Vision versus sound, for example. So vision, sound, feeling, thought, perception is this continuous flux. But whether you point to that form of flux or that form of flux or this form of flux or that form of flux or that form of flux, whatever field, whatever part of your field of experience that you point to is anything more than anything else in terms of isness, in terms of immediacy, in terms of presence. Is anything actually any more present than anything else? No. If it doesn't ever increase and it doesn't ever decrease, that's the meaning of all objects arise as illumination. They are awake. Free. Free on one hand because they're neither increasing nor decreasing. Yet simultaneously, everything that's arising is passing. For something to arise, it is passing. For something to pass, it had to arise. Nothing leaves a trace of itself. Ever. Yeah, it's all traceless, like clouds in the sky. Yeah, all things are like that. It's the meaning of the Buddhist phrase, uh, It was his last sermon, and the phrase was, "What is subject to origination is subject to cessation." That's the truth of impermanence. Yeah, it's by seeing impermanence that this I grasping uh, immediately or gradually comes undone. However many times it takes, eventually it sets in that thought is empty, and so is feeling. And what's empty can't be taken as self. And if thought and feeling aren't taken as self, your life and suffering is over. Even if there's still, habitual suffering, the aspect of your mind that generates stories stops. It's an example of the meaning of the phrase cessation through knowledge and vision. The vision is the seeing of these processes. The knowledge is the understanding that they're impermanent. The seeing of these processes, the understanding that they're impermanent, eventually give rise to the cessation of that suffering. It's by not seeing that we're bound. If we're not seeing the process, we can't know the truth of that process, that pattern, whatever, that phenomena. And if we're not able to have the light of that knowledge, then we'll be subjected to whatever delusion or fantasy or narrative is being taken as real. When you arrive at the point that your suffering is no longer a problem, on one hand, you can say the affair of spirituality is over. On the other hand, you can say it's only the beginning. The real knowledge really only dawns when you've gone beyond yourself. So it's funny how it's like the Patanjali quote. He said, when you reach the pinnacle of samadhi, you find there's 1,000 more levels of it. Just doesn't end. That's the meaning of infinity. And you only need 10% on a infinity scale to end your suffering in time. So long as you take thought and feeling seriously, as long as you make leaps and conclusions, something happens here. I don't know, this flower dies, and oh, it must be a sign, something bad's gonna happen. Total bullshit. You don't trust your mind. It just makes stuff up all day. Oh, but if I don't trust it, I feel unsafe, I feel uncertain. What is it that feels unsafe, uncertain? You have to keep looking. Purification by knowledge and vision, the cessation of suffering, cessation of ignorance. You have no idea if there's a relationship between that flower dying, whatever else happened. No clue. Uh, yeah. Due to interpretation, there's the establishment of relationships and interactions between things that may not be there at all. It's really important to see that the majority of life is an interaction with your own projections. We all live in the universe, in our own personal universe. We live in a universe of what we think we know, and we interact with that knowledge, what we think we know, as if it's true. We interact with our own perceptions as if they're true. I'm walking around, this guy gives me a look. I think that look means something. I don't dress really. I'm not dressed really well. He must think I'm a bum. Who is he to judge me? How does he? Why is he looking at me? You see, this is all just a madness. Total nonsense. Just flailing around, freaking out over your own interpretations of things that are not possible to know in this human state. We don't know what anything means. Thank God. Imagine if we did, we would be so screwed. This interacting with our own projections and then fighting are literally at war with our own projections, at war with our own thoughts and feelings. Our life is a psychodrama. We're literally in our own psychodrama. How do we break free of this prison? We have to study the prison. You have to study the mechanics of your mind. You have to investigate, find where it makes things up, find where it assumes that something is true or that something is false. Find out why it does that. What does it gain from doing that? Is there an addiction to suffering, to self-loathing? Where does that come from? All of these things are things to be known. Purification by knowledge and vision. So here, I mean, to know something means to come to some understanding. Doesn't mean knowledge is an absolute, but just that certain things are being observed. And when you've observed them enough, you become aware of patterns. There's some consistency in this phenomena. And if you're able to see consistency, what comes next? You're able to predict how you're going to react. When you can begin to predict how you're going to react, then how you're going to react becomes less and less real. Like all of us see it to some degree. Someone says something that's in opposition to our politics, immediately there's some kind of reaction. So spontaneous. We're all just these tape reels of conditioned patterns and responses. So it's to study those conditioned patterns, to study those responses, to investigate them. You begin to see what specifically your mind is holding on to versus others, what specifically is tripping you up versus other things. There's a lot of suffering that comes from tripping over about things that are not even happening. Like, I think this person is doing this and doing that and plotting this and plotting that. Don't even know if it's happening. Don't even know if it's real. But we act like it is. And then we suffer accordingly. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. Like if the mind just did that, sure, whatever. But the fact that you suffer so much because of the story of I'm not good enough because of X, Y, and Z. You don't even know if you're not good enough. Some therapists would say you need to tell yourself that you're good enough. I think from a relative point of view, yeah, that's important. We don't even know what good is. What the hell's good? What's enough? What does that even mean? I don't know. So I'd say that's freedom. Yeah. Ultimately, the fact that we don't know what's right or wrong or good or bad for us is profound. Yeah, we can know what's beneficial versus what's unbeneficial, what's wholesome versus unwholesome, what's good versus what's bad in the relative sense. But whether something's ultimately good for us or not is a total mystery. Just because something feels good doesn't mean that it is good. Just because something feels right doesn't mean that it is right. A lot of the things that we thought were horrible for us or felt horrible for us ended up being the biggest blessings, and the things that we thought were good and felt good ended up wasting our time, ended up all falling apart. So the point is that it doesn't matter. Doesn't actually we're so fixated on what we want to have happen. The whole affair of happiness in many cases just comes down to like, is life going my way? People who have things going their way, they have it and they do things that they value. They have the general sense of being happier and having a greater sense of well-being. Kids are healthy, parents are healthy, job is okay. They have happiness and gratitude as a habit. All good, standard sense of well-being, normal ups and downs of life, whatever. That's relative happiness. So, I mean, that's achievable. That's a thing that people have. You could have it if you want it. But so what? Yeah. The don't even know if there's a point. But if there was to be a point, it'd probably be freedom. And freedom isn't seeing the truth, which is that whatever's happening is just what's happening. Whether it's sorrow or whether it's happiness, whether it's good conditions, quote, good conditions, those are just in opposition to what we call bad conditions. Summer is in opposition to winter. Spring is in opposition to fall. Life is in opposition to death. What doesn't have an opposite? Reality, the absolute. So as long as you're still trying to derive happiness from things, your happiness will be dependent on those things. And when you lose those things, you'll lose your happiness. So the real madman or madwoman, the real crazy yogi, is to just not be concerned with happiness at all. To not be concerned with the affairs and the pursuits of humans, because they're all subject to change. But the absolute, the beloved, this is unchanging. Immediacy is constant in past, present, or future. It's this seeing that liberates. Whatever happens at the level of events, at the level of gaining and losing, you're screwed. Whatever you gain, whatever you win, you'll lose. For sure. So yeah. So you return again and again to this knowing. And to be established in that knowing is the meaning of purification. Eventually, that gives way to realizing that there's not actually anything there to be purified. The purification is an appearance. So it's that knowledge that that constitutes a form of awakening. Just to have recognized the knowingness is an initial awakening. Because the more established you are in the knowingness, the less you're able to take the body and the thoughts as the self. So that's already, to a degree, awakening from the dream of identification. But the idea of whether you're an awakened person or a spiritual person or how far you are, or done or not done, these are all just thoughts. Not particularly important. All right. So we went a little over the 2 hour mark. So this is it for today. I think tomorrow we may have our last we'll probably have our second. I think tomorrow is our second to last Bardo's class. I think we're almost done with the book at this point. That took a long time. anyways. So there's that. And yeah, Saturday, Sunday, normal times, 9 a.m.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Min.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Min. Thank you
Yeah,
for
thanks,
your
Min.
questions. It's awesome.
That was great. Yeah.
Goodbye.
See you,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.